Weekend in Paris. A USAG Stuttgart story about one pouch, one border, one decision, and a lifetime of consequences. OPSEC Minute Extended, Episode 062. Welcome to our Stuttgart community messaging platform called the OPSEC Minute Extended. We use this space, in posted YouTube videos, to share both a little OPSEC, or Operation Security Wisdom, along with an occasional Marvel team-up bridge that ties into other regulatory security disciplines and policies. Before we start, this story is a fictional narrative inspired by publicly available personnel security guidance, including U.S. Army Regulation 38067 and ODNI reporting standards concerning foreign contacts, coercion, insider threats, self-reporting, foreign travel, and continuous evaluation. Note: news on recent changes in regional laws involving the use and transport of contraband like ZIN can readily be found online. Prologue. The law doesn't care what you didn't know. Paris, France. Friday evening. The Eiffel Tower shimmered against the deepening twilight as thousands of lights blinked alive. Tourists laughed and street musicians competed with distant police sirens. The smell of roasted chestnuts drifted through the warm summer air while cafes overflowed with conversations spoken in a dozen different languages. To most visitors, Paris was magic. To Jessica Mercer, it was freedom. 29 years old and 18 months into her appointment as a GS-11 logistics specialist supporting the U.S. military community in Stuttgart, Jessica caught herself smiling every time she flashed her passport. Originally from Colorado Springs, she'd accepted a position in Germany believing she'd spend weekends exploring every country connected by high-speed rail. Life overseas wasn't just an assignment, it was an adventure. Only 48 hours earlier, Jessica and 3 close friends had boarded a TGV train bound for Paris. Their group couldn't have been more different. Marcus Bell, 34, was a former Army staff sergeant turned civilian IT specialist, calm, methodical, and prone to checking hotel fire exits. Olivia Chen, 26, was an energetic intelligence systems contractor always chasing the next photo op. Finally, Trevor Nash, 31, a charismatic non-appropriated fund employee, remained forever convinced every vacation required at least one bad decision to be memorable. This weekend, Trevor had declared on the train, is about forgetting work. The weekend passed in a blur of midnight pastries, river cruises, and live jazz. It felt perfect until Saturday afternoon. While browsing a crowded outdoor market in Montmartre, Trevor noticed a young backpacker quietly speaking with several tourists. He carried a small sling bag, discreetly revealing colorful tins. American brand synthetic nicotine pouches. Trevor, who had been looking for them all weekend, wandered over. Marcus stepped closer, his instincts flaring. "This feels wrong. A shopkeeper earlier told us France just banned these. Public health decree. They're illegal here now." Trevor laughed dismissively. "Relax, they're just nicotine pouches. Legal back home." "So maybe don't buy contraband in a foreign country," Olivia countered, folding her arms. Trevor hesitated. The stranger leaned closer, smiling. "No police, no problem. Cash only." Jessica watched Trevor reach toward his wallet. Then he stopped, sighing dramatically. "You know what? Forget it. We're leaving tomorrow. Not worth it." The stranger's smile vanished and he disappeared into the crowd. Crisis actually avoided, Jessica exhaled, or so she believed. Sunday morning, their train crossed back into Germany. Waiting just beyond the platform were German customs officers and French liaison officials conducting randomized inspections. One officer looked directly at Jessica, then at Trevor. He spoke softly into his radio. "Those 4, please ask them to step aside." Act 1. The Detainment. "Passports and ID cards, please," the German Zoll, customs officer said, his English clipped and uncompromising. Beside him, a French liaison officer watched with hawkish intensity, a radio crackling on his shoulder. Jessica handed over her blue tourist passport and her maroon DOD CAC. "We're stationed in Stuttgart, USAG. "I see that, Miss Mercer," the officer said. "You and your 3 companions. Please step out of the line and move to the secondary examination room." Inside the stark, windowless room, officers systematically emptied every piece of luggage. They unzipped seams, ran explosive swabs, and examined toiletries. They paid special attention to Jessica's large canvas tote bag and Trevor's backpack. Finding nothing but dirty laundry and souvenirs, Jessica let out a nervous laugh. "Are we good to go now? Our connecting train leaves in 20 minutes. The French liaison officer stepped forward, his face like stone. "You are not going anywhere. You are being detained under suspicion of conspiring to transport illicit substances." Jessica's breath hitched. "Illicit substances? What are you talking about?" "Yesterday afternoon, at the Montmartre market, you were under surveillance," the French officer stated coldly. "You were observed negotiating with a known trafficker of banned synthetic nicotine products to arrange a dead drop." "Trafficker? Zin!" Trevor yelled, the color draining from his face. "I didn't buy anything. I looked, but I walked away." "The French public health law decree classifies these products as prohibited," the German officer added sharply. "Conspiring to move them across an international border is a federal offense. Place your hands on the table. You are not free to leave." The heavy steel door clicked shut. They were innocent. Their bags were clean. But as the minutes ticked into hours, Jessica realized a terrifying truth. Innocence doesn't automatically unlock the door. Act 2. The Stuttgart Scramble. 2 hours later, the phone rang in the secure office of Mr. Alonzo Edwards, the USAG Stuttgart Command Security Manager. Alonzo listened quietly to Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Jimenez, the Directorate of Emergency Services Provost Marshal. "You're telling me 4 of our people, all cleared, are sitting in an interrogation room at the Karlsruhe border?" Alonzo asked, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Held on suspicion of international smuggling conspiracy, Alonzo," LTC Jimenez sighed. "German police and French customs, my physical security chief, Eric Fraser, confirmed they're citing surveillance footage of our people engaging with a known smuggler in Paris." "Bring the command team together," Alonzo muttered. 10 minutes. In the USAG Stuttgart Command Suite, the atmosphere was electric. Colonel Edward Sanford, the garrison commander, sat at the head of the conference table, flanked by Deputy Garrison Commander Mr. Robert Gwinner and Command Sergeant Major Christopher Melendez. Alonzo stood at the front alongside OPSEC officer Mr. James J.B. Brooks. Jessica Mercer, Marcus Bell, Olivia Chen, and Trevor Nash are being detained, Alonzo explained. No physical contraband was found. However, French authorities observed them interacting with a black market vendor selling recently banned synthetic nicotine. "They're facing international charges over nicotine?" asked Captain Boluwataifo Bembe, the HHC commander, shaking his head. "It's not a joke, Captain," J.B. Brooks interjected. "France banned these products. Ignorance of host nation laws is not an excuse. Even an accusation of conspiracy with a smuggler is a massive issue." "What about their SOFA status?" asked Resource Management Office Director Mr. Demetrius Gandy. "Can't we just go get them?" "SOFA is not diplomatic immunity," Alonzo stated firmly. "If the host nation has a probable cause, they have jurisdiction. From a personnel security, PERSEC standpoint, I have to flag their clearances immediately. Perception is reality." DPTMS Director Mr. Kyle Khoury leaned forward. "Are we dealing with an actual smuggling ring, or just sheer stupidity?" "We've looped in the Stuttgart Army Counterintelligence, ACI team, Directorate of Plans Training, Mobilization and Security, DPTMS. Acting Protection Chief Mr. Luke Fralick replied, "If our people interacted with known criminals, they expose themselves to exploitation. We need to know exactly what is on that CCTV footage." Act 3. The Truth in the Tape. In the austere interview room in Karlsruhe, Trevor sweat through his shirt. Across from him sat two Stuttgart ACI team members, Special Agent Vance and Special Agent Thorne. "I didn't buy anything," Trevor pleaded, his bravado entirely gone. "I swear, we didn't do a drop." Agent Vance opened her laptop. The French authorities sent over the CCTV footage. Jessica leaned in, her hands trembling. The grainy footage showed the outdoor market. It showed Trevor approaching the backpacker, the brief exchange, and then Trevor shaking his head and walking away. "Watch closely," Agent Thorne instructed. On the screen, the backpacker's friendly smile vanished. As Jessica turned to follow Trevor, the backpacker stepped swiftly into her blind spot, reaching into his jacket with a brick of contraband, aiming straight for her open tote bag. Jessica gasped, but on the video, just as the backpacker's hand hovered over her bag, Olivia called out Jessica's name. Jessica sharply pivoted, swinging the tote bag out of reach. The backpacker bumped into empty air, quickly pocketed the brick, and melted into the crowd, his mule drop thwarted by pure luck. Vance paused the video. The room was dead silent. "You didn't buy it," Vance said softly, "and he didn't plant it. You are clean." Jessica buried her face in her hands, letting out a fractured sob of relief. Trevor slumped back in his chair. "But you need to understand how close you came," Thorne warned, devoid of sympathy. "If Olivia hadn't called your name, you would have crossed the German border with a brick of illicit substances in a DoD-affiliated bag. You would be facing years in a foreign prison, and we wouldn't be able to stop it." Act 4. The Rubber Meets the Road. Monday morning. The rain poured over the cobblestone streets of Stuttgart. The four of them sat in the DPTMS conference room on Panzer Kaserne. They were exhausted, traumatized, and legally cleared. But the debriefing was just beginning. Alonzo Edwards and J.B. Brooks stood at the head of the table. "You are all keeping your jobs and your clearances are unflagged," Alonzo started. "Legally, you are innocent." "But don't confuse innocence with good operational security," J.B. Brooks cut in. "You survived by accident. Trevor, your ignorance of the law put your entire group in the crosshairs of foreign surveillance. You treated Paris like an extension of the United States." Alonzo leaned against the table. "Foreign intelligence entities, FIEs, and transnational criminal syndicates look for complacency. A cleared federal employee chatting up a street vendor for illicit goods? That is a textbook vector for blackmail. If he had planted that in your bag, Jessica, and approached you here in Stuttgart threatening to expose you unless you got him onto the installation, that's how insider threats are born." Marcus nodded slowly. "We let our guard down. We should have secured our bags." "Exactly," Alonzo said. "Perception matters. You were detained for 8 hours because you looked like you were making a deal. The law doesn't end at the border, and your responsibility to protect your clearance doesn't take a vacation." Epilogue. A month later, the crisp autumn air had pushed the summer heat out of Stuttgart. The group's dynamic had shifted. Weekend trips continued, but the carefree naivety was gone. Marcus ran security checks on destinations. Olivia ensured bags were locked. Jessica kept a hawkish eye on her surroundings, and Trevor researched local laws with the intensity of a law student. In a packed auditorium at the Patch Barracks Theater, Command Chaplain Colonel David Curlin offered an invocation before a mandatory community-wide security stand-down. Colonel Sanford stood at the podium. "We are guests in this country and every country we visit," Sanford's voice echoed. "The status of forces agreement is a framework for cooperation, not a magic shield against your own bad decisions." He gestured toward Alonzo Edwards and J.B. Brooks. "Recently, a group of our own had a near miss. They did nothing legally wrong, yet found themselves in a foreign interrogation room because they lacked situational awareness and engaged with the wrong element. Sanford concluded. They were lucky, but security cannot rely on luck. Protect yourselves. Protect each other, because out there, perception can lock you in a cell just as fast as reality. The lesson learned: morality and security breakdown, facts and reality. 1. Ignorance is a vector, not an excuse. SOFA agreements provide certain legal frameworks, but they do not grant immunity from host nation laws. Failing to research the local laws of your destination, even for seemingly minor items like synthetic nicotine, invites aggressive law enforcement scrutiny and risks your clearance. 2. Perception is reality in security. The group was innocent, yet detained because they were perceived to be engaging in illicit activity. Interacting with black market vendors or criminals, even out of curiosity, compromises your personnel security, OPSEC, and makes you a target for both law enforcement and hostile intelligence. 3. Travel OPSEC is non-negotiable. Jessica avoided becoming an unwitting mule by pure luck. Maintaining positive physical control of your luggage in crowded foreign environments is a foundational pillar of travel security. Recommended action: always treat foreign travel as an operational environment. Adversaries exploit complacency. Know the laws, control your gear, and remember that when you travel on a U.S. passport and hold a security clearance, you are never truly off the clock. Thank you for sticking around as we continue testing the boundaries of an extended storyboard. Think of it as security training with a plot twist, and a fresh way to both educate our team and connect with our military community. Subscribe to our YouTube or Secure Narratives channel. Hit us with a like and watch for our new updates. Also, if you have other suggestions or ideas, or are interested in a personalized name drop, or your work center's inclusion to our tales, don't hold back. Send a quick note to share your thoughts. We're all ears and ready to make things even better. So, until next week's OPSEC Minute Extended, keep those comments coming.